Pro-Palestinian protests are set to go ahead this weekend, but there's been a warning from the country's police forces against the displays of any symbols connected to terrorist organisations. Political reporter Oliver Gordon joins us now from Parliament House. Oliver, protests will go ahead despite some attempts to stop them.
Hi Jeremy, that's right. So protests planned for this weekend across various parts of the country, but particularly Melbourne and Sydney, will go ahead. In Victoria, there had been some representation from the opposition in that state that the protest shouldn't go ahead. We now know that the protest will go ahead in Victoria. When it comes to New South Wales, the New South Wales Police Force actually made an application to try and stop the protests from happening. Yesterday, the police and the protesters found some agreement, and we now understand that the protests in Sydney will take off from a slightly different place. And when it comes to the October 7 protests that had been planned in Sydney, we understand that that will no longer be a sort of registered protest event with having to register that event with the police. So there is concern about having a protest or a vigil or a demonstration so close to the date of October 7, which is of course when Hamas attacked Israel. We have heard from Federal Labor Minister, Senior Labor Minister Bill Shorten, sharing his views today on whether or not it's a good idea to demonstrate on October 7.
That was a massacre of innocent people. Now, there might be some people watching who say, oh, what about, my side of the argument and my hurt and my pain? I accept that, but one, you've got to keep it peaceful. Two, why do it on the day where, if you really think that Hamas was right, I do not understand how you think. I do not understand how people would want to celebrate Hamas's actions.
Now, Oliver, there's been a statement released from the country's police forces. What are they saying?
Yeah, Jeremy, so we've seen a number of the country's police forces get together to issue this joint statement ahead of this week's demonstrations. Important to note that for almost a year that these demonstrations have been taking place, they have been largely peaceful, but in recent weeks we have seen some protesters displaying the flag of Hezbollah, which of course is a listed terrorist organisation. We have this statement in front of us which has just been put out basically saying please respect the right to peacefully protest and assemble in Australia. However, there will be no tolerance for illegal behaviour or violence on any day of the year. And interestingly, really singling out the display of prohibited symbols in public under these circumstances, and also saying it's a serious offence to counsel, promote, encourage, urge, instruct or praise terrorism. So certainly as these protests and demonstrations and vigils do take place over this coming weekend, Jeremy, we know that there will be plenty of attention from law enforcement authorities.